Hello and welcome to Premiere 004, our fourth premiere. And we've been holding these while Rose is away. And at this point, don't know what Rose is going to do. She has some decisions to make, but we'll just keep plugging along. They find the premieres will contain all the information that we were giving. And on Sunday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern, I will be holding the previews. Now, I did hold one this past Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. It was a bit glitchy technically, so I think what I'll do this coming Sunday is I'll hold a preview as a premiere, but I will stay in the chat. I'll run the music a bit longer at the end of just update about what's coming up next. And we'll just do some chat room exchanging, and that seems to work fine. So let's go on and take a look at what we have for tonight. We're going to be going on with Premiere 4, and this is February 16th. And tonight we'll be doing our 1-minute meditation as normal, and this is in preparation for those who want to do longer meditations. And as we go further into the introductory sessions, I'll be talking more and more about what to expect as you meditate longer. Then after our 1-minute practice meditation, we'll be doing part 2 of session 4, continuing with the left-right brain balance. And here we'll be looking at some acupressure balancing techniques. And we'll do our guided meditation, and again we'll do the walking through the body. And when we do the guided meditation this time, I want you to really practice staying very, very comfortable and still, and just using your mind to travel through your body. Then immediately after that, we'll do the internal map of reality session 4, part 1. I'm starting a new section here now on filters. Those processes that happen before you are conscious. They automatically filter your reality prior to you processing what you're experiencing. Then we'll look at exercise 6. I have a little short video on that. I want to play it to remind people of what they're going to do. Then finally, to wrap it up, we've got a bonus number 6, practice makes perfect. A little discussion about what to do and why to do it, etc., etc. So let's continue on, and we're going to go into our 1-minute meditation now. Okay, and welcome to the continuation of session 4, left-right brain balance. And we'll be going into part 2, looking at energy balance. So let's go over to my PowerPoint. And when we're talking energy balance, one way that makes it easy, although there's many practices what I would call energy work. Won't go into all of them, but I have looked at a number of different ones. But the one that I've spent most of my time studying is the Acupressure Meridian base, because it is the one that is the most well documented. There's lots of detailed tracking of where this energy is located. And these energy centers and spots can be physically measured with something as simple as a voltmeter. Now, you would need to have a voltmeter that has three decimal places, or 3 places past the decimal point, because the charges are small. So a normal voltmeter won't have the sensitivity to pick them up. But if you have a high quality or good quality voltmeter, you can just track these spaces yourself. And there's lots of equipment that, if you're interested, I can go into that at some other time, that can be used to find these points and to balance them. Okie dokie. So what I'd like to do today is something really practical. I'd like to introduce you to an energy balance technique called the Sanjiao. And it's going to be dealing with a specific meridian. And the meridian is shown here. It's a little bit complicated, but let me see here. The Sanjiao meridian, it's a balancing meridian, and you see how it goes around the heart and center. So most of the meridians are connected to organs, but there are some special meridians that are balancing or regulating or control meridians. And the Sanjiao is one of them. So here's a technique to balancing this key meridian, energy meridian in the body. It's kind of like the carburetor in a car. It's kind of like if the carburetor is not functioning correctly, the car will, hesitate and go on. So this Sanjiao, and it's called the 3 treasures. Okay, so 3 points that you will massage. Okay. And there's 3 on each side. Now you can do them simultaneously. Okay, so there's a point just at the end of the eyebrows. You can put your finger on it. Take my glasses off. You can put your finger on it and massage in one direction. Doesn't matter which one. In one direction, and then reverse, massage in the other way 3 times. And then just above the top of the ear, the apex of the ear, right? Okay, point 20. And massage in one direction 3 times slowly, and then reverse it and go the other direction 3 times slowly. And then the final one is on the earlobe, and you can just press the earlobe, right? Press the earlobe, right? Press the earlobe. Some people pull down on your earlobes 3 times. So let's take another look at this very important massage. So you do both sides at the same time, and then repeat it as many times as you want to center the body. And this is a nice one because if you're in a meeting or if you're even waiting for someone, you can discreetly massage these points without drawing much attention to yourself. Very nice to be able to do this. So there's another aspect, way of using this ancient energy, Qigong, and there's some movements. Now, because we're online, I can't really get to do this. If and when we can arrange to have live meetups, we can do some Qigong together. Very easy to do, very easy to practice. But the whole idea with Qigong is that it's an ancient form of health. And it's a self-care system. And it helps you regulate the physical through breathing and postures and focus. So you need to combine all 3. Now these have a connection to the 3 bodies. So the physical body, the breath is associated with your energy, the qi in your breath, and the focus is associated with your spirit. So, you have to be aware to be focused. So here's an example of some of the movements, and they have names. Ooh, repulse monkey. If you ever heard the expression, you got a monkey on your back. And then there's a pushing movement, and then there's an embracing, and something called the attack, the eagle, blah, blah, blah. So you can go online and you can find these movements. The simpler the movements, the better. Okay. Now, okay, just got a little warning there. So how this works, when you are moving and using the brain in this way, the neural pathways become activated. And there's a research project going on at the National Institute of Health to track all of the many neurons in the brain. You can see here in this graphic how many neurons and how they flare off of each hemisphere of the brain. And they're actually tracking each of the neural fibers in the brain because they all go somewhere and they all do something. Okay, well, that's it for section 2, nice, short, and sweet. And we will be continuing on with our guided meditation after this. And as I mentioned before, try these things, go online, and if you want some more information about the Qigong movement exercises that you can do at home, let me know and I will try to get them to you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that information. Now we're going to do our guided meditation, walking through your body. And again, just sit very, very still, very calm, and use your mind's eye to travel through your body. Enjoy. Okay, we're going to do a guided meditation. So just sit comfortably in your chair, let your eyes close, and just listen to my voice. We're going to walk through your body. I'm going to mention a part of your body, and what I'd like you to do is just take your awareness there. Don't do anything, just go there in your mind and observe that part of your body. I'm going to start with your feet. Take your awareness to your feet, the soles of your feet, your toes, your ankles, tops of your feet, and even inside your foot. Take all your awareness to your feet. Still not moving or doing anything, take your awareness in both legs from your ankles to your knees. Just move your mind's eye and focus in on the area from your ankles to your knees. Calves, shin, skin. Okay, good. Now we're going to move your attention from your knees in both legs to your hips. From your knees to your hips. Become totally aware of that area. We're going to keep moving our attention now from your hips to your ribs, your stomach area, your lower back, your sides, the whole abdominal area, from your hips to your ribs. You might be aware of your stomach moving in and out as you breathe. But again, just take your attention there. Now we'll move up to your rib cage, from your diaphragm up to your shoulders, your sides of your ribs, your chest, your upper back. And again, you might be aware of your lungs, you might be aware of your heart. Just become totally aware of that area. And again, without changing anything, we're just moving your attention, move to your hands. Become totally aware of your palms of your hands, your fingers, tops of your hands, the sides. Good. We're going to move now from your wrists to your elbows. Just your attention. Leave everything else the way it is. From your wrists to your elbows. Again in both arms. We're going to move now and focus in on the area from your elbows to your shoulders. Just the area from your elbows to your shoulders. Let your attention now go to your shoulders, between your shoulder and your neck. Along your neck to the front of your neck and the back of your neck and the sides. Your attention now goes up to your chin and the cheeks and around your mouth. And then around your nose and eyes. And your forehead and your eyebrows. Let your attention now move around to the sides of your head, your temples, and down to your ears, and around to the back of your head. Your attention now goes up to the very top of your head, right to the very crown of your head. Just focus on the very top of your head. Now, to end this little meditation, what I'd like you to do is to focus on your entire body, all together from your toes right to the top of your head, to the tips of your fingers. Your body all in one piece, comfortably sitting there. And at any time you feel like it, you can just let your eyes gently open. Well, welcome to Internal Map of Reality, Session 4, Part 1, Filters. We're going to be looking at how our subconscious uses filters to keep us on track towards our goals in life. Now, you could imagine that if we had to process all the information coming towards us, we'd probably never get anything done. If you could hear all the sounds that were available to hear, and see all the sights that were available to see, and feel all the textures around you all at once, it would be overwhelming. So these filters automatically limit down what you are perceiving in real time to the things that your subconscious believes is key to your survival, key to your success. So this rolls back to our sessions about beliefs and desires, that if you set up your desires and your beliefs correctly, then your subconscious will be automatically presenting towards you on a moment-to-moment basis the things that are relevant for you to achieve those. So let's go over to the PowerPoint, and I'm looking at a quote here, which I think really spells it out clearly. We're not in a world of information overload. We're in a world of filter failure. Let me repeat that again. We're not in a world of information overload. We're in a world of filter failure. I think this is so true, that if you are able to filter and concentrate and focus, that's why we do the detachment meditation, is to learn to focus through this myriad display array of information coming at you. You're going to be able to focus on the key things that are relevant to you, and the rest will be not disregarded, but put to a side. Okay, so what have we done so far? We've looked at why and how we have a map. We looked at modes of thinking, and we did quite a bit of work on beliefs. And hopefully by now you're comfortable with how you structure your beliefs. And we'll be going into that later on as we build our life goals. But for now, I think you have enough information to know that beliefs are the tools you are using to achieve your desires. Now, your filters are another kind of tool. And we'll be going into those now. Coming up in the near future, we'll be looking at a very special filter called the timeline. And we'll be going into that in great detail because it's such a major part of our reality. Now, in some countries, timelines are not that important. Everything is now. But in our reality, in our world, time, past, present, and future is very important. Then we'll be moving back into values again, but this time looking at how to structure our values or our desires in a organized and hierarchy. Then we'll be looking at meta programs, which are an example of filters, but a little bit more elaborate ones that people use in their life scripts. And then finally, we'll be moving into the real purpose of this whole exercise is really to understand how we generate strategies for motivation. Now, if you want to do something in your reality, you got to be motivated. So understanding how to create these strategies involves everything that we've been learning up until that session 8. And finally, we'll start organizing life goals. This is one that had particular meaning for me in being able to periodically go and look at my life goals and sort them through and make sure that I am really asking my genie for what I want. And then we'll look at some fun things, modeling 1 and 2, about how to take advantage of other people's internal maps of reality. Okay, so a quick zip through the resources. We have these Wednesday sessions, and right now we're doing them as previews. And, we might be able to go back to doing them as live streams, hopefully very soon, if and when Rose is able to return. And then I've added in the Sunday afternoons previews where we can look ahead, see what's coming down the road, answer questions about any of the exercises we've been doing. And, so we've been running those as premieres. And then in the chat, I can answer your questions in the chat. And of course, we have our meditation and presentation recordings, which if you don't have access to them, give me an email or a message, and I'll be able to spruce that up. And of course, our 3 groups of patrons who I really, really appreciate. And hopefully this will grow. And so you are the core group now, the small group of people who are learning about the internal map. And hopefully you'll be like the core group top group here who really want to learn this. So you can be here just to see it and understand it. That's one level. But then you could be at the mid-level, the group that wants to be able to use it in their life. And finally, you might be at that core group level that feel it's such an important thing that you want to be able to share it. So I want to again say thank you for my patrons. So here we go. Contact information, I'll just leave this up for a second. You know how to reach Rose and me. And if you do decide to share some of your information, I really would be interested in knowing about it. So filters. So what we'll be doing now in this session 4 is looking at filters. What are they? How do they work? And why do we have them? Now, there are a lot of different filters, and hopefully you will begin to identify filters that I don't talk about, but there are many. But here are some key ones. We're going to talk about the timeline filter. We talk about the associated filter, and we've already mentioned that a couple times. We'll look at the frequency filter and the solution filter. Okay, and then we'll be looking at power filters. You can make any of these filters your power filter. And this is, again, an extension of your power frames and your power beliefs. So you can convert a belief into a power belief. You can convert a filter into a power filter. You can use that filter. You can find one that's a strength for you, and then you can activate it and make it something that you can use whenever you need to draw on it. And then we'll just talk about how to apply filters at the end here. So some of the concepts, I want you to start thinking about something called meta programs. And meta programs, just like in metadata in a computer file, is not the actual data. It's a description of the data. So we have filters, and filters are actually meta programs. They don't contain any information about what you're experiencing, but they tell you how to process it. So they're the meta programs are the instructions on how to process, not the data itself. And then we'll look at polarization. When you're using a filter, you're polarizing your reality. You're separated, just like a polarized lens. When you hold it up, will separate light frequencies at certain bandwidths. You can do this automatically. And the thing I think I want to stress over and over again, these filters happen before you are consciously aware of the content. So they're a pre-processing technique. And the third concept, I want you to begin to thinking about the fact that these filters are actually continuums. They're not an off and on. They are a continuum. You can dial up or down across a range. So what are filters? Well, filters are like sunglasses, or in this case, pink glasses that you put on, you see a rosy world. The moment you put the glasses on, everything looks different. Filters will delete magically anything that's not relevant to you. And if anything gets through your filter and it's not matching what you need to see, it will distort it and change it. And finally, filters will generalize so that you can look at a range of information and reduce it down to a few generalized statements. Now, these techniques are important. However, when they are operating without your awareness that they're working, or if they're working in an unresourceful way and you are deleting, distorting, and generalizing in an unresourceful way, then that can come back to bite you. So we want to be able to become aware of these filters and identify, are we deleting, distorting, and generalizing inappropriately or in a way that's not advantageous or resourceful. So when we have the delete action going on, what the delete function will do is that if you have content you don't want to see or hear or touch or smell, you can delete it. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a room and there wasn't a very annoying sound, or you're trying to get to sleep and there's a sound that is really annoying. Say it's the sound of cars in the street or someone talking in the next room. You have the power to delete that input. And you might find that if you just relax, all of a sudden you don't hear those cars outside. You don't hear that person talking next to you. It allows you to focus on what you desire. And it's a form of protection too. For those of us who have been traumatized by something in the past, then seeing or experiencing that material, that input again, will only traumatize you again. So you have the power to just delete the content. You don't even see it. Now, this can be advantageous, but it can be a problem, particularly if you really do need to see that material. So when things are distorted, and this I find is a really great one, and we have some examples here that we can talk about, such as when people are on a diet. Well, they can be on a diet, but then they can actually convince themselves that they are following the diet, even though they are eating twice as much of a certain food than they should have. So this ability to distort what you're seeing will keep you in that comfort zone. You will feel okay. You will believe that you're following your diet, but in reality, you're not. And it's a form of support. It allows you to validate your reality And you may be having a conversation with someone, and you can point out a scenario that you've been trying to convince them of, something you've been trying to show them that is something different from what they believe. And they just will not see it each time you point it out. So the example here is the picture being displayed. Some people will see a vase, and some people will see two faces. Then there are those of us who can see both the faces and the vase simultaneously. And this is where I would like you to be able to move in your ability to understand your filters, how to process the filter so you can see one way or another both actions of your filter and then decide which way you want to go. So you can look at that picture and you can decide to see a vase, or you can decide to see two faces. The one I think that causes the most problems in our society is the generalizing of input. So when you see something, you will automatically say, oh, that's in this case, an old lady, or that is a young girl. Which do you see? An old lady or a young girl? And again, this is information that's being generalized and processed before you get a chance to even consciously work with the material. It's based on your preferences. It's also based on your attraction. Now, as I mentioned, one of the ways this particular filter or this action of filters is a problem in our society is that when we begin to generalize others in our world, we don't even take the time to look and see if it's the opposite. If someone is actually being kind, if we think this particular type of person is a mean, nasty person, we won't take the time to even dig deeper. Okay, so let's continue on. Why do we have filters? Well, as some of you may have heard, there's something called the law of attraction, that whatever you think, you become. What you are taking internally and feel about your reality, you begin to attract. And what you imagine, you begin to create. These are very powerful things. And if you have values or desires that are consistent with what you really want in your life, you've actually sat down and looked at them and sorted them through, which we will be doing very soon, then your beliefs should be consistent with that. And you can take and discard unresourceful beliefs, and then power frame, activate more resourceful beliefs. When you start doing that, you will automatically begin to apply these filters subconsciously. Okay? So they become a very powerful. So if you know people that are very successful, they do not have to think things through a lot. They act because these filters are working automatically. So this is an exercise that I'd like you to do, is to take some time and think about ways that you may be deleting input, that you may be distorting input, or you may be generalizing. And just take a look at that within yourself and make some notes. Do some observations. You can also observe other people that you know. Are they in some way deleting information, distorting information, generalizing? And then what I'd like you to do is to begin to try to understand if this is a mechanism, if this is the way they tend to treat all information of a certain class. So you can identify filters because they will work the same way on all classes of information like that. I'll give you an example. Say someone is nervous about presenting to people in public. And they will begin to filter out any opportunities to present, but they'll do it in the same way. So whenever there is a situation where they'll have to stand up and present to a group, either a small group or a large group, they'll use the same technique, the same filters to avoid that. I'll give it a play. I will do a little video on this and share it on Sunday. Or maybe I'll share it before Sunday if I can. But I'll do a little thing on this on exercise 7. Okay, so we'll be doing part 2. We'll be looking at examples of filters in part 2 of our session. Thank you for participating in this, and I hope you're beginning to enjoy this information. It's very, very useful, very powerful. Ask questions and participate in our Sunday afternoon sessions. See you soon. Welcome to this short video on exercise number 6. This is an exercise that comes out of our sessions dealing with beliefs, and this will be our last exercise directly dealing with beliefs alone. Now, so why have we been focusing on beliefs? Well, beliefs are very, very important because everything that you do in your life is driven by a belief. You do things because you believe that doing them will meet some kind of desire. And we indicated briefly, and we'll be going into this in more detail. You have desires that are to move towards things, and you have desires which are to move away from things. So a couple of the things that we'll be trying to do is identifying the resourceful and unresourceful desires and beliefs. Now, they tend to be the beliefs that you have about moving away from something to avoid something. Those tend to be unresourceful, so there's a good clue there that if there's something that you want to avoid and you have beliefs about it, they'll tend to be unresourceful. So you can look at that. So that's later on down the road. But for this exercise, what we'll be doing is focusing on how to develop a belief and then expand that belief, and then eventually associate power frames to make it even more powerful. So when we talked about beliefs, we discovered that a belief was an offshoot of a desire. So you have a core desire, and then off of that, you will have many beliefs. And the example I used in the session was wanting a relationship, very high level, general, non-specific as to the specific person, location, or anything, just wanting a relationship. What does that mean? That means you'll be happy if you get a relationship and you don't necessarily have to have it specced right out to the minute detail. Okay, so you have a high-level core belief, wanting a relationship. And then the many, many ways, and you could probably think of other than these 3 simple ones I have here. Well, you could spruce up the way you dress. You could hang out with people you think could introduce you to people you might want to develop a relationship. And why would you watch Netflix movies? Well, maybe that will give you some idea of how to hang out in social settings, and you could use the clues as social training. But there's other beliefs that you could develop. So the belief is a mechanism or a method or an activity that you will do, that you believe you will do to meet your relationship or your goal. In this case, a relationship. So the exercise was to pick a desire. Now, when you pick the desire, try to consciously pick a desire that is moving you towards something, not away from something. Avoidance desires tend to be problematic. So if you want financial security, you want a relationship, you want happiness, what are the things that you are striving for? Pick one and then develop a list of beliefs and then rank them. That's it for this exercise. That's all I want you to do. Should only take you, well, it can take as long as you want, but you could probably do it in a half an hour or an hour, sitting quietly with a cup of tea and thinking. Put some nice music on, but make it a desire of something you really want. Make it high level, and then take your time and just generate all the things that you could do. Then once you have them, try to get at least 5, 6, or 7, and then rank them as the ones you think are most likely. Doesn't mean that maybe your number 7 at the bottom turns out to be the most successful strategy. But these are all strategies, right? Rank them, and then what we will be able to do, and we'll talk about it on Sunday, is you'll be able to assign a power frame to these. So enjoy this exercise and do try it, because I know they're simple, I know they're really easy, but it gets you into the mood of working towards building something that we will be working on a couple of units down, called your hierarchy of beliefs. When you build that and you have your hierarchy of desires and beliefs that are really solid and are all sort of positive, reinforced, and resourceful, then you'll find things in your life start becoming more organized. So that's it for exercise 6. We'll drill into it, give it a try, and then we'll talk about it on Sunday, on our Sunday session. Now, in the Sunday session, we will be meeting at 3 p.m. Eastern. And I know the last time I had a little issue with the leg. I should be able to get that worked out good. I will send out a message with the link. But if you're on my YouTube account and you select notifications, you'll be notified there. But I will send you a message for it. See you on Sunday. And welcome to this short video on bonus topic number 6. And today we'll be looking at something I call practice makes perfect. Now, I've been suggesting you do the little exercises, and I've been keeping the exercises really simple. We've been doing 1-minute meditations at the beginning of our sessions and the short guided meditations after the intro to meditation video. We'll be moving soon into discussing how to meditate for longer periods. And I thought it'd be good now to talk about the act of practicing. Why is practicing important? Why do they call meditation a practice? And more importantly, why do they call meditation an art? It is an art form. And what I want to convey to you, that what you are embarking on is you're learning a skill. It's a very high level skill. And I know many people will present meditation as a rather simplistic thing, but believe me, it is an art and it is a very sophisticated skill. So with that in mind, I want to talk about the stages of learning and the steps that I think are key for you at this stage is learning that there's an initial stage, and then you'll move into a stage where you'll be starting to integrate this knowledge into your daily life to a point where it will become a habit. And then finally, when you reach a certain level, your skills will become totally subconscious in nature, and you will just implement them. You will apply them unconsciously through your subconscious mind power. Okay, well, let's take a look at meditation as a skill. In the very first session in the Intro to Meditation, I indicated that meditation has been around for a long time and that it came from the eastern part of our world and migrated to the European countries and then finally to North America. But the practice of meditation is considered of the highest skill level. And in some parts of the world, if you are seen as a skilled meditator or a meditation instructor, you're considered to be very, very, very highly respected. And the reason is that in some countries, they understand that the most powerful thing that you can learn about is yourself, is your mind. But it takes practice. I want to just refer to learning a skill. And here's a little chart. I know on the upper axis, x-axis, they talk about accumulation of skill points. Think of that as effort. Think of that as time. And as a novice, you might spend very little time, and you might not do any of the things. You might not meditate at all. And I have to admit, when I first started out with learning about this, I didn't meditate as much as I should. I didn't practice as much as I should. But then as I began to see benefits, I began to practice more. And particularly as I began to help others learn it, I began to practice more. And it is directly, it's not. It's more like the traditional hockey stick curve, that as you progress up in terms of skill level, the amount of time you spent increases. Let's look at something that like learning to play an instrument. So this is an example of learning to play a musical instrument such as a piano. And they've broken this down really interesting. If you notice that they looked at in the far left column hours per week. And then they start saying that if someone is spending 1 to 2 hours a week, 10 to 20 minutes a day on average, they're not likely to stick with it, and they are probably not likely to succeed. So it's considered not serious. Then as you move up, you see someone who's practicing 3 to 4 hours a week, 20 to 40 minutes. That's where the starting beginner would be. So that says here, a new musician. However, a proper warm-up would not leave much time to really practice beyond. So this would be considered just getting warmed up, but it is a good starting place. So for 2 or 3 times, 3 to 4 times a week, putting in about 20 to 40 minutes in a session, right, that you begin to be considered as progressing. But then you move up to 1 hour per day, 7 days a week. Now you're talking about the minimum amount of time required to learn a musical instrument or an advanced art skill. And I think this would apply to any of the arts, that if you're a really serious painter, really serious singer or guitar player or piano player, you're going to be practicing a minimum of an hour a day. But notice what the recommended is. The recommended is 2 hours per day or 10 to 15 hours per week. And I would say that when I began to get serious about doing this, I would be spending a minimum of 2 hours a day on my meditation practice alone. So I would do like a 1 hour meditation and then spend an hour or so going over my material every day. But then when I began to be really serious about it, every day I was doing about 3 hours, not sitting at one time, but I might do an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, and maybe an hour or two in the evening. And if you know anyone who's seriously into any art form, music, they're practicing a lot. Now notice that they say here, for someone doing 3 to 4 hours per day, they're considered serious about their music. they're considered to be a virtuoso. They're beginning to become really someone who could make a living at their art. And then you notice here people who practice 5 hours a day. Now remember, there's 24 hours in a day, so we're talking less than a quarter of a day. So 5 hours a day. Those are the people who reach the top. Those are the people who excel. So I wanted you to see this chart, and I think it applies to any art form, and I consider meditation an art. And the stages happen similar to this, that in the beginning of wanting to learn meditation, you really don't know what you don't know. And you are unconsciously incompetent. You don't know. And you may hear some of the things from other people and from me in some of the lessons, and it might not twig, it might not make any sense to you, and you may or may not do any of the exercises, but that's okay. At least you're hanging in there, you're watching it. And I did that for a while too. So it's not that I'm saying I started being a real serious practicer for quite some time. I just watched and listened, and something held me. But then you reach a point where you realize, hey, there's more to this than I know. You become conscious of your incompetence. You become aware of what you don't know, and you begin to practice seriously. And at that point, you begin to reach a level of consciously being able to play that guitar or play that piano or sing that song or draw that picture or meditate. You become consciously competent of being able to do your meditative practice. And there are many different forms of meditation practices. I practice on a daily basis 2 or 3 different types of meditation applications. And I'll talk about that if you want. But then through practice and time, you reach the top level, which in this chart, it's calling unconscious competence. But it's what I call being accessing your skill level at the subconscious level. So you begin at the very beginning, which is, let's say we are all here, and you want to be like that child in these pictures here. You want to be curious. You want to play. You want to touch. You want to get involved. And it's through practice and practice that you begin to integrate the material. And initially, you may not even know what the significance is of what you're doing. You may not know that your ability to play with those blocks might lead to someday you being a sculptor. So I'm suggesting that at this stage, you begin to build habits. Build habits of doing your meditation. I've been trying to instill a habit by doing the one meditation at the beginning of every one of our sessions. I'm making it a habit. You need to make your practice habit. And basically in your life, and this is what the internal map of reality is about, making all your habits resourceful habits. This is the key to your subconscious. It's the habits that will either take you forward or hold you back. It's the habits that have the hidden secret meaning of your power. And if you're around people who are very, very successful, you will notice that they do things without even hesitating. They do it, as the expression is, like water falling off the back of a duck. It just flows through. They do it automatically because they practice and practice and practice. Very seldom do any of these skills get handed to you. I've been fortunate, and a few pieces of knowledge have been handed to me, but the rest I've been had to get down on my hands and knees and scrub the floor. You have to do the work. And by doing the work, you begin to realize what you don't know. And you begin to gain some of that skill internally. And I can't tell you what your skill will be. I can't tell you what you will master. This is unique to each person. You have your own set of library of knowledge inside of you that through practicing your various meditation skills, and I've been hinting at a number of them and also directly pointing to some specific ones, but we're going to dig deeper into it. But it's your practice, not mine, that will take you to the next level. You have to do it yourself. And by doing the exercises and beginning to meditate, things will begin to open for you. No one can do it for you. Well, that's pretty much my positive mental attitude chit-chat for today. And I'm serious about it because you're more than welcome to watch these lessons and to watch them as an observer, being disassociated from the material. And that's perfectly okay. But I really would like you to become fully associated with the material and gain the benefits. And only by trying these things and practicing do you begin to gain the benefits. Okay, see you in the next session. Thank you for being in attendance tonight and watching these videos. Now I'm going to let the meditation music play for a few minutes so that we can continue to exchange information in the chat room. So I will be there. Hopefully Rose will be here as well. And just interact, and I'll answer any questions I can via the chat. Other than that, feel free to join us on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. And I love you all and really appreciate you being here. Have a great night.